It's a privilege to be part of the opening readings here in this courtroom tonight. On a personal note, some of you may know that I was born in the city of Nuremberg, the son of a prosecutor, Benjamin Ferencz, who at the age of 27 opened the prosecution in the subsequent proceedings against the Einsatzgruppen leaders, who by their own records and own formal reports had condemned themselves for the murder in cold blood of over 1 million defenseless and innocent men, women, and children. He opened his case with the words, "The case we present is a plea of humanity to law." It is a plea we still hear today. It is a plea that none have worked harder to answer than those at the International Criminal Court, who we're very privileged to have with us here tonight as representatives of the court and the work that they do, of course. We've heard already some of the distinguished words from Robert Jackson, who talked about the great tribute of power to reason. For Robert Jackson, and particularly for the Americans, the legacy of Nuremberg and the Nuremberg trials themselves were not simply about punishing and bringing to justice those who had committed war crimes and crimes against humanity. You will know that the crimes against peace, the waging of aggressive war, was the centerpiece for Robert Jackson. Because we have a number of prosecutors here with us tonight, I cannot resist telling a little story of my own with respect to a prosecutor and the crime of aggression, not from Nuremberg. I was giving a talk in The Hague to the International Bar Association in January this year. At the end of the talk, which was on the illegal use of force, someone in the audience identified himself as a seasoned criminal prosecutor. And he put a very tough question, and he put it with tremendous intensity, so much so that a hush came over the entire audience. He said, "Can you tell me," he said, "I want to direct this question to Don Ferencz. He said, "Can you tell me why, as a prosecutor, I would ever want to prosecute for the crime of aggression when skilled defense counsel would simply tie me up in knots?" And then he added, "Can you answer me that one? Can you?" The audience was as quiet as you are tonight. I think I surprised some people in the audience. I paused and I said, "No, I can't. But I know someone who can." And I quoted the words of Robert Jackson, who stood in this room and said why we were prosecuting people for beginning wars themselves. He said, and certainly former Ambassador Rapp knows these words, I've heard him quote them as well. He said, "The common sense of mankind demands that law shall not stop with the punishment of petty crimes by little people. It must also reach men who possess themselves of great power and make deliberate and concerted use of it to set in motion evils which leave no home in the world untouched." And we see it today. The bombs fall in Aleppo, the counterattack is in a stadium in Paris. They leave no home untouched. There is another voice from Nuremberg that I like to mention, but not by way of paying tribute, rather by way of reminder. A chilling and blunt assessment offered by Hermann Göring, former Reich Marshal, at one time Hitler's number 2 in command, who was interviewed in his jail cell below where we're sitting today in April 1945. He said words which I think are worth remembering. He said, "Naturally, the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor for that matter in Germany. That is understood. But after all, it is the leaders of the country who determine policy, and it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy, or a fascist dictatorship, or a parliament, or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country. End of quote. Now, Robert Jackson worked in the United States Supreme Court as a justice. He was on leave to Nuremberg as the U.S. Chief of Counsel. Some of you may know, if you've ever been to Washington, D.C. and visited the court, it has a portico with 4 important words etched above it. Equal justice under law. If it isn't equally applied, it isn't real justice. Jackson knew this. And in fact, in some of his concluding statements, which I'd like to quote very briefly, he reminded the court in this very room. He said, "The ultimate step in avoiding periodic wars is to make statesmen responsible to law." After which he immediately added, "And let me make clear that while this law is first applied against German aggressors, the law includes and must condemn aggression by any other nations, including those which sit here now in judgment." Words for us to remember today. Some of you will know that the International Criminal Court has an opportunity next year for its assembly of states parties to finally bring to fulfillment the legacy of Nuremberg in outlawing, criminally outlawing aggressive war, as well as aggressive acts, which are serious violations of the United Nations Charter. And this will come up for a potential reapproval process next year. I hope that we will see the legacy of Nuremberg fulfilled in our time. So it's with pleasure that I greet you all. I welcome you both to my hometown of Nuremberg, to this courtroom, and to all that it stands for. Thank you very much.